Have you ever looked at a simple penny and thought it could be worth far more than 1 cent? Most people see loose change and ignore it. They toss pennies into jars, leave them in cup holders, or spend them without a second thought. But what if one ordinary-looking Lincoln penny hiding in plain sight could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even more to the right collector? Today, we're taking a close look at one of the most talked-about coins among Lincoln cent collectors, the 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Before you dismiss this as just another old penny, stay with me, because many people have owned this coin without realizing what they had. And some examples have sold for surprisingly strong prices depending on their condition, color, and rarity factors. The story begins in 1964, a year that was unlike any other in American coin history. During the early 1960s, the United States faced a growing coin shortage. Americans were pulling coins out of circulation, and demand for change was increasing rapidly. To keep up, the U.S. Mint produced enormous quantities of coins. Millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies rolled off the presses that year. Because of these huge production numbers, many people assume every 1964 penny is common and worthless. But that assumption has caused countless valuable coins to be overlooked. One of the first things people notice about a 1964 Lincoln penny is the absence of a mint mark. They immediately wonder if that makes it rare. The answer is more interesting than most people expect. A 1964 penny with no mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During that era, Philadelphia coins generally did not carry a mint mark. So the missing mint mark itself is normal. However, that doesn't mean every 1964 no mint mark penny is worth only 1 cent. In fact, certain examples are highly sought after by collectors. The key is understanding what separates an ordinary coin from an extraordinary one. And that's where things start getting exciting. The first factor collectors examine is condition. Most 1964 pennies entered circulation immediately. They were used in stores, banks, vending machines, and everyday transactions. Over time, they developed scratches, wear, discoloration, and damage. But a small number escaped circulation. These coins remain sharp, bright, and remarkably preserved. When collectors find a 1964 no-mint mark penny that still looks nearly new after decades, interest can increase dramatically. Imagine holding a coin struck more than 60 years ago that still shines with original mint luster. That's exactly the kind of coin serious collectors hunt for. But condition is only the beginning. Another major factor is color. Lincoln cents of this era were made primarily from copper, and copper changes over time. Collectors generally classify these pennies into 3 color categories: brown, red-brown, and red. Brown coins have aged significantly and lost much of their original color. Red-brown coins retain a mixture of original red and darker tones. But the most desirable examples are often fully red coins. These coins still display much of the vibrant copper color they had when they left the mint decades ago. Finding a 1964 penny with strong original red color can be far more difficult than many people realize. And when exceptional preservation combines with full red surfaces, values can rise quickly. Now here's something that surprises many viewers. 2 pennies may look almost identical to the average person. Yet one might be worth only a few cents while the other could attract serious collector attention. Why? Because professional grading changes everything. Coin grading services carefully evaluate every detail of a coin's condition. Tiny marks, surface quality, strike sharpness, luster, eye appeal. All of these factors influence a final grade. And even a 1-point difference in grade can create a huge difference in value. That's why some collectors spend years searching through rolls and collections hoping to discover a hidden gem. But the story gets even better. Because some 1964 no-mint mark pennies contain striking errors. And error coins often generate tremendous excitement. During the minting process, coins can occasionally be struck incorrectly. These mistakes can create unusual features that make a coin stand out from millions of normal examples. Collectors actively search for double details, off-center strikes, die cracks, repunched characteristics, and other mint-made abnormalities. When genuine errors are identified and authenticated, demand can increase significantly. This is one reason experienced collectors examine old pennies so carefully. They know valuable surprises can hide in places most people never think to look. Now imagine this scenario. A family inherits an old coin jar that has been sitting untouched for decades. Inside are hundreds of Lincoln pennies. Most people would dump them into a coin counting machine and move on. But a knowledgeable collector sees something different. Opportunity. Every coin is examined. Every date is checked. Every surface is inspected under magnification. Because sometimes the coin everyone else ignores becomes the coin everyone wishes they had saved. And the 1964 no-mint mark penny is one of those dates that many collectors continue to inspect closely. Here's another fascinating detail. Many people assume rarity alone determines value. But in the coin market, demand is equally important. Lincoln cents have one of the largest collector bases in the United States. Millions of people build Lincoln penny collections. Millions of people search for upgrades. Millions of people look for better examples. That collector demand helps support values for exceptional pieces. In other words, it's not enough for a coin to be old. Collectors must also want it. And Lincoln cents remain among the most popular coins ever produced by the United States Mint. Now let's talk about something every viewer should understand. Internet headlines often make outrageous claims. You may see videos, articles, or social media posts suggesting that every 1964 penny is worth a fortune. That's simply not true. Most circulated examples are common. But the best examples are a different story. The coins attracting serious money are usually those with outstanding preservation, exceptional eye appeal, rare characteristics, or certified high grades. That's why experts recommend looking carefully before making assumptions. A coin that appears ordinary at first glance might deserve a closer inspection. Especially if it has strong luster, minimal wear, attractive color, or unusual features. And here's where many discoveries happen. People begin checking change jars. Old piggy banks. Inherited collections. Coin albums. Desk drawers. Boxes stored in attics. And forgotten containers hidden away for years. The excitement comes from not knowing what you might find. Every collector understands that feeling. The possibility that one coin could be special. The possibility that one coin was preserved better than the rest. The possibility that one coin escaped decades of wear and survived in remarkable condition. That sense of discovery is what keeps coin collecting alive generation after generation. And it explains why interest in Lincoln pennies remains so strong even today. Now take a moment and think about this. How many pennies have passed through your hands over the years? Hundreds? Thousands? Maybe tens of thousands. Most were probably spent without a second thought. Yet among those countless coins could have been examples that collectors would eagerly add to their collections. That's what makes this hobby so fascinating. History, mystery, and opportunity. All contained within a small copper coin. The 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny represents a unique piece of American history. It comes from a time when the nation was producing coins at an incredible pace. It survived decades of circulation, economic change, and everyday use. And today, it continues to capture the attention of collectors across the country. So before you ignore that old penny sitting in a drawer, take a closer look. Check the date. Inspect the surfaces. Look for original color. Look for unusual characteristics. And most importantly, don't assume a coin has no value simply because it appears common. Sometimes the most overlooked coins create the biggest surprises. If you have a 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, you might be holding more than just a piece of spare change. You might be holding a coin with a story. A coin with collector interest. And perhaps a coin worth far more than its face value. The next time you come across an old Lincoln cent, remember this: great discoveries rarely announce themselves. They hide quietly among ordinary coins, waiting for someone curious enough to look closer. And that hidden treasure might be much closer than you think. Most people see a penny and think 1-cent coin. Collectors see something very different. They see history, rarity, minting details, condition, and sometimes the possibility of finding a coin worth far more than its face value. And today, we're taking a close look at one of the most talked about pennies in circulation history, the 1965 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Before you rush to check your spare change, there's something important you need to know. Every 1965 Lincoln penny was struck without a mint mark. That means finding a 1965 penny with no mint mark does not automatically make it rare. But don't click away just yet, because the real story is much more interesting than most people realize. The year 1965 was a turning point in American coinage. During the early 1960s, coin collecting exploded in popularity. People began hoarding coins, searching for rare dates, and pulling valuable pieces from circulation. The demand became so intense that the United States Mint faced a serious coin shortage. To help solve the problem, the Mint made a dramatic decision. They temporarily removed mint marks from coins. Their hope was that collectors would stop hoarding coins if they couldn't easily identify where they were made. As a result, Lincoln cents produced during this period did not carry the familiar mint marks collectors were used to seeing. So if you have a 1965 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, that part is completely normal. But here's where things become interesting. Although millions of 1965 pennies were produced, not all of them survived in the same condition. Most entered circulation immediately. They were carried in pockets, dropped on sidewalks, passed through cash registers, and spent years collecting scratches, stains, and wear. Today, finding a 1965 penny in average circulated condition is easy. Finding one that still looks nearly perfect after more than 60 years is a completely different challenge. Collectors pay close attention to condition. A coin with strong original color, sharp details, and minimal wear can be dramatically more valuable than a heavily circulated example. That means two pennies with the exact same date can have vastly different values. Now imagine finding a 1965 penny that appears almost untouched. The original copper red color still shines. Lincoln's portrait remains crisp. The wheat-colored glow reflects under the light. Suddenly, what looked like an ordinary coin becomes something much more desirable. But condition is only one piece of the puzzle. Experienced collectors know that mint errors are often where the real excitement begins. Every year, countless coins are produced. Occasionally, something goes wrong during the manufacturing process. When that happens, unusual varieties and mint errors can enter circulation. Some 1965 Lincoln pennies have been discovered with striking abnormalities. These include off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, and other unusual production mistakes. While many errors are minor, certain examples can attract significant collector interest. Imagine examining a penny under magnification and noticing that part of the design is missing because the coin was struck off-center. Suddenly, you're not looking at an ordinary cent anymore. You're looking at a conversation piece that collectors actively seek. Another factor that drives interest is color designation. When collectors evaluate copper coins, they often classify them into three categories: brown, red-brown, and red. Brown coins have lost most of their original mint color over time. Red-brown coins retain some original luster but show signs of aging. Red coins, however, are the stars of the show. These coins preserve most of their original bright copper appearance and are often the most desirable examples. A 1965 Lincoln penny with full original red color and exceptional preservation can command significantly higher prices than a darker circulated example. That difference can surprise people who assume all pennies are worth the same. Now let's talk about grading. Professional grading services evaluate coins using a numerical scale. Higher grades indicate better preservation. For modern coins, the difference between one grade and another can mean a huge difference in market value. A common circulated 1965 penny may be worth only a small premium over face value. But a superb gem quality example certified by a respected grading service can attract much stronger collector demand. That's why serious collectors examine their coins carefully before making assumptions. And here's something fascinating. Many valuable coins are discovered in places people least expect. Old piggy banks. Inherited collections. Garage sales. Estate sales. Coin jars sitting untouched for decades. Thousands of collectors continue searching because they know remarkable finds still happen. Someone empties a forgotten jar. Someone opens a drawer that hasn't been touched in years. Someone inherits a collection and begins sorting through it. And occasionally, a coin emerges that nobody realized was worth saving. That possibility keeps the hobby exciting. The 1965 Lincoln penny occupies a unique place in American numismatic history because it represents a period when the United States Mint was responding to unprecedented demand and changing collector behavior. Every time you hold one of these pennies, you're holding a small piece of that story. Think about how many hands that coin may have passed through. Think about the purchases it helped make. Think about the decades it survived. A single penny might have traveled across multiple states, sat in countless cash registers, and remained unnoticed for generations. Yet today, collectors inspect these coins under magnification, searching for details invisible to the average person. That contrast is what makes coin collecting so fascinating. The most overlooked objects can sometimes tell the most compelling stories. Now, if you decide to search for a 1965 Lincoln penny, there are several things you should look for. First, examine the overall condition. Are Lincoln's features sharp? Do the letters appear strong and clear? Is the coin heavily worn, or does it retain original detail? Second, look at the color. Does it still display bright copper red surfaces? Or has it turned dark brown from decades of circulation? Third, inspect the coin for unusual characteristics. Check for striking errors. Look for unusual doubling. Search for anything that appears different from a normal example. Fourth, avoid cleaning the coin. This is one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. Many people believe cleaning improves value. In reality, cleaning often damages the surface and can significantly reduce collector interest. Even if a coin looks dirty, leaving it untouched is usually the safest choice. Collectors generally prefer original surfaces over cleaned ones. And here's another important point. Not every online claim about valuable pennies is accurate. You may see headlines suggesting ordinary pennies are worth enormous amounts of money. While some coins genuinely achieve impressive prices, value depends on specific factors including condition, rarity, demand, and authentication. That's why education is one of the most powerful tools a collector can have. The more you learn, the better your chances of recognizing something special. The 1965 Lincoln penny teaches an important lesson about collecting. Sometimes rarity isn't obvious. Sometimes the difference between an ordinary coin and a collectible coin is hidden in tiny details. Sometimes the value comes from exceptional preservation rather than a rare date. And sometimes the story behind the coin is just as interesting as the value itself. For many collectors, the thrill isn't simply about money. It's about discovery. It's about the possibility that the next coin examined could reveal something unexpected. It's about connecting with history through objects most people ignore. That sense of curiosity has driven collectors for generations, and it continues today. So the next time you receive change, don't dismiss those pennies too quickly. Take a closer look. Check the dates. Inspect the details. You never know what might be hiding in plain sight. The 1965 no-mint marked Lincoln penny may appear ordinary at first glance, but its connection to a unique chapter in American coin history keeps collectors interested more than 60 years later. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson this little coin can teach us. Sometimes the most overlooked treasures aren't hidden in vaults or museums. Sometimes they're sitting quietly in a coin jar, waiting for someone curious enough to notice them. So before you move on, take a moment to check your own collection, your spare change, or that forgotten container of old coins tucked away in a drawer. Because somewhere out there, another 1965 Lincoln penny is waiting to be discovered, examined, and appreciated for the history it carries. And who knows? The next one could be in your hands. What if the coin sitting in your pocket right now, the one you've ignored for years, is actually hiding a story that most people never notice until it's too late? Before you jump to conclusions, slow down for a second and really pay attention, because today we're talking about something that looks extremely ordinary, but has confused thousands of coin collectors across the world. A simple 1-cent coin from the United States. A 1973 Lincoln penny. No mint mark. Nothing flashy. Nothing gold. Nothing that screams valuable at first glance. And yet, people keep searching it, checking it, holding it under light, hoping they've found something rare. But here is where the truth becomes interesting. Because this is not just a coin story, it's a reality check, mixed with hidden knowledge that most people never hear on YouTube. So stay with this carefully, because by the end of this, you will know exactly what makes a 1973 no-mint mark penny special, and more importantly, what makes it completely common, and where people get it wrong. Let's begin from the start. In 1973, the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies. These coins were made for everyday use, not for collectors, not for investment, not for wealth building. Just pocket change. Gas stations. Grocery stores. Vending machines. That was their destiny. Now here is something most beginners don't understand. When a coin has no mint mark, it usually means it was produced in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Mint, for many years, did not use a mint mark on pennies. So a 1973 penny without a mint mark is not an error, it is normal production. But this is exactly where confusion begins. Because on the internet, you will see videos saying, no mint mark equals rare, or, this penny is worth thousands, or even extreme claims that it can change your life overnight. And that is where most people get misled. The reality is much more grounded, but still interesting if you understand it properly. A regular 1973 Lincoln penny without a mint mark is extremely common. Millions and millions were made. Most of them are still floating around in circulation or sitting in old jars, drawers, and piggy banks. In normal condition, this coin is worth face value. 1 cent. Sometimes slightly more if it is uncirculated, shiny, and well preserved, maybe a few cents to a couple of dollars at most. So why do people still search for it? Because in coin collecting, value is not always about the year alone. It is about condition, rarity, and errors. And this is where things get interesting. A 1973 penny becomes talk-worthy only under specific conditions. For example, if it has a minting error. That could include doubling, off-center strike, clipped planchet, or unusual metal defects. These are not normal coins. They are mistakes from the production process. But again, let's be very clear. A normal 1973 no-mint mark penny is not rare. However, and this is the part that keeps collectors interested, high-grade examples do have some premium value. If a coin is graded extremely high, with sharp detail, original luster, and no circulation damage, collectors might pay more for it. But even then, we are talking about small collector value, not life-changing money. Now let's talk about something even more important. Why do so many people believe common coins are rare? The answer is psychology. When people hear stories about rare pennies worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands, their brains start scanning everything they already own. That old coin jar suddenly looks like a treasure chest. Every penny becomes a possibility. Every scratch becomes, maybe, an error. This hope-driven mindset is exactly what makes coin videos go viral. But real collectors think differently. They don't guess. They verify. They examine weight, strike quality, mint marks, production history, and grading standards. Let's go deeper into the 1973 Lincoln penny itself. The design features Abraham Lincoln on the front, which has been standard since 1909. On the reverse side, you'll see the classic Lincoln Memorial design, which was used from 1959 to 2008. So visually, there is nothing unusual about this coin. It is familiar. It is standard. It is one of the most produced coins in American history. And that is exactly why it is important. Because sometimes the most common objects teach the strongest lessons. Now imagine holding a coin and thinking it could be worth thousands, but in reality, its true value is only in knowledge. Understanding what it is. Understanding what it is not. That knowledge itself protects you from misinformation. Let's break down what collectors actually look for. First, condition. A heavily worn penny loses almost all collector value. The more it has circulated, the more its detail disappears. Second, errors. Real mint errors can increase value, but they must be verified. Not every scratch is an error. Not every mark is special. True errors are rare and documented. Third, demand. Even a rare coin only has value if collectors want it. So when we apply all of this to the 1973 no-mint mark penny, the conclusion becomes clear. Most of them are common. Mass-produced. Easy to find. But still, there is something fascinating about it. Because even a common coin can start a journey. Many collectors begin exactly here. With pennies like this. Learning. Searching. Comparing. Slowly building knowledge that eventually leads them to truly rare discoveries. And that is where real value exists. Not in hype. Not in exaggerated claims. But in understanding. Now, if you are holding a 1973 penny right now, here is what you should actually do. Look at it carefully under good light. Check the edges. Check for doubling in the text. Check for unusual striking issues. Compare it with known reference images from trusted coin guides. But most importantly, stay realistic. Because the coin market rewards accuracy, not excitement. And here is something many people never hear. Even coins worth thousands don't usually look dramatic. They often look normal at first glance. The difference is in subtle details, grading, and authentication. That's why professional collectors use grading services instead of guessing. Now let's come back to the emotional side of this journey. Every coin tells a story. Not just about money, but about history, production, and time itself. This 1973 penny has passed through millions of hands. It has been dropped, spent, saved, ignored, and forgotten. And yet, it still exists today, waiting to be noticed again. That alone is powerful. Because in a world where everything is digital, something as small as a 1-cent coin can still make people stop, look closer, and wonder if they are missing something valuable. But the real lesson is not that every coin is rare. The real lesson is to learn what makes something rare in the first place. And once you understand that, you stop falling for hype, and start recognizing real opportunity. So the next time you see a 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, don't rush. Don't assume. Don't believe every viral claim. Instead, observe it like a collector. Because knowledge is what separates curiosity from confusion. And in the world of coins, knowledge is the only real treasure that never loses value. Now keep watching your change carefully, because while this coin may not change your life financially, it can absolutely change the way you see every coin after it. In your hand right now, or maybe sitting quietly inside an old jar, wallet, or forgotten coin box, there could be something that most people would completely ignore, something they would spend without a second thought, something that looks ordinary, but sometimes carries a story far bigger than its face value. Today's focus is one of the most overlooked coins in American pocket change, the 1976 Lincoln penny. At first glance, it doesn't look special. It doesn't shine like silver. It doesn't have an ancient design. It doesn't scream rarity. It looks like something you've seen thousands of times before. A small copper-colored cent with Abraham Lincoln on the front and the familiar wheat or memorial-style reverse depending on the variation. But here's where things get interesting. Because in the world of coin collecting, the most dangerous mistake you can make is judging a coin only by how common it looks. The 1976 Lincoln penny was minted in Denver during a massive production era in United States history. The country was celebrating its bicentennial, 200 years since independence, and billions of coins were being produced to keep up with everyday circulation. The Denver Mint alone struck billions of Lincoln cents that year, meaning this coin was never meant to be rare. It was meant to disappear into everyday life. And that is exactly what happened. Millions of people used it, spent it, and never thought twice. But here is what most people don't realize, even in massive production coins like this, hidden mistakes can exist. And sometimes, those mistakes turn an ordinary penny into something collectors actually search for. Before we go deeper, imagine this for a moment. A coin that has passed through vending machines, cash registers, gas stations, and hands for decades. A coin that may have been dropped on the floor, kicked into corners, or left in jars for years. And yet, despite all of that, it might still hold a secret that only a trained eye can detect. That is the world of error coin collecting. Now, let's talk about what makes the 1976 Lincoln penny important in the first place. The D mint mark tells us it was produced at the Denver Mint. This mint is known for producing extremely large quantities of coins, especially during the 1970s. Because of that, most 1976 pennies are very common today. In normal circulated condition, they are usually worth just 1 cent. But value in coin collecting is not always about rarity alone. Condition and errors can completely change the story. Let's start with condition. A 1976 penny that has never been circulated, meaning it has no scratches, no wear, and still carries its original mint luster, can be more desirable to collectors. Coins graded in very high mint state condition can sometimes sell for a few dollars, depending on quality. That might not sound like much, but remember, this coin was once worth only 1 cent. Now we move into the more exciting part, the part that makes collectors pay attention: mint errors. Errors are not supposed to happen. They occur when something goes wrong during the minting process. A slight misalignment, a damaged die, or even a foreign object can create a variety of unusual effects on a coin. And in the case of the 1976 D Lincoln penny, several types of errors can appear. One of the most sought after is the double die error. This happens when the design is impressed onto the coin slightly more than once, creating a shadowed or doubled appearance in the letters or numbers. On a Lincoln cent, this can sometimes be seen in the word Liberty or the date. If the doubling is strong and clear, collectors become very interested. Another interesting error is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned during the striking process. As a result, part of the design may appear shifted, with one side missing detail while the other side shows extra blank space. The more off-center the strike, the more dramatic and sometimes more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date is still visible. Then there is the struck-through error. This occurs when a foreign object, such as grease, dust, or debris, gets between the die and the coin blank. The result is a missing or blurred section of the design. To the untrained eye, it may look like damage, but to collectors, it can be a mint-made mistake worth noting. Another possibility is a clipped planchet error. This happens when the blank metal disc used to make the coin is not perfectly cut. The result is a coin that looks like a small piece has been sliced off the edge. It gives the coin an unusual shape that stands out immediately when compared to normal pennies. There are also broad strike errors, where the coin is struck without the proper retaining collar. This causes the coin to spread out slightly larger than normal, making the rim look weak or missing. Again, these are not common in everyday circulation, but they do appear from time to time. Now here is the important truth that every collector eventually learns. Not every old coin is valuable, but every coin has the potential to be interesting. The difference is in what you are looking for. Most people will look at a 1976 D penny and see something worthless. A collector sees possibilities. A history enthusiast sees a piece of the past. And an experienced error hunter sees a puzzle waiting to be solved. Even if your coin is not an error, it still carries historical weight. Think about what was happening in 1976. The United States was celebrating its 200th anniversary. People were listening to music on vinyl records, watching television in black and white or early color, and using coins for almost every transaction. Credit cards were not widespread like today. Coins like the Lincoln cent were used constantly, which is why so many of them were minted. That heavy circulation is also the reason why high-grade examples are harder to find today. Every year that passes, more coins get damaged, lost, or worn down. So even common coins slowly become harder to find in perfect condition. If you ever come across a 1976 D penny, the first thing you should do is observe it carefully. Look at the date. Look at the mint mark. Check the surface under good lighting. Pay attention to the edges and lettering. You are not just looking at a coin, you are looking for anything that breaks the normal pattern. Collectors often use magnification tools because small details matter. A tiny doubling in a letter or a slight shift in alignment can completely change the classification of a coin. But even beyond value, there is something deeper about coins like this. They remind us that everyday objects can carry hidden stories. Something produced in massive numbers can still have individual uniqueness. No two coins are ever completely identical when you examine them closely enough. And that is what makes coin collecting so addictive for many people. It is not just about money. It is about discovery. It is about finding something others have overlooked for decades. It is about turning something ordinary into something meaningful. The 1976 D. Lincoln penny is a perfect example of this idea. It teaches a simple lesson: never underestimate what is already in circulation around you. Because sometimes, value is not announced. It is hidden. So the next time you receive change at a store, or open an old jar of coins, take a moment. Look a little closer. That penny sitting quietly in your hand might just be a normal 1-cent piece, or it might be something that carries a small but fascinating error from the minting process that most people will never notice. And in the world of collectors, noticing is everything. Listen carefully, because what you are about to discover might completely change the way you look at the pennies sitting in your pocket, your drawer, or even inside an old jar that you've ignored for years. Right now, I want you to imagine something very simple. A single 1-cent coin. Not gold. Not silver. Not flashy. Just a small copper Lincoln penny, dated 1979. The kind most people would never even bend down to pick up from the ground. But here's where it gets interesting. Because in the world of coin collecting, sometimes the most ordinary-looking coins hide the most unexpected secrets, and today's coin is one of those coins that keeps collectors constantly checking their change again and again. The 1979 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Now, before you think this is just another boring old coin story, stop for a moment. Because what you are about to learn is exactly why collectors search through rolls of pennies, why people spend hours examining tiny details under a light, and why some coins that look completely normal can sometimes carry surprising value. Let's start from the beginning. In 1979, the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies. These coins were made primarily in Philadelphia and Denver. Most Philadelphia coins from this period carry no mint mark at all. That means when you look just under the date on the coin, you won't see a small letter like D or S. So yes, a 1979 no mint mark penny is actually normal, but here is the key point most beginners miss. Just because something is common does not mean every version is equal. Because within these billions of coins, there are subtle differences, minting variations, strike quality differences, and in rare cases, errors that can turn a 1-cent coin into something far more interesting to collectors. Now look at your coin mentally for a second. You see the date, 1979. You check below it, no mint mark. At first glance, it seems like any regular Philadelphia penny. But collectors don't stop there. They ask deeper questions. Is the strike strong or weak? Is the copper color original or altered? Are there doubling effects on the letters or numbers? Is the coin perfectly centered, or slightly off? Because sometimes, what separates a 1-cent coin from a valuable collectible is not the date, but the details that most people never notice. Now let's talk about why the 1979 penny has gained attention in the first place. The late 1970s was a transition period for U.S. coin production. Minting processes were fast, high volume, and sometimes inconsistent. Coins were produced in massive quantities, and when production is that high, small mistakes can slip through. And in coin collecting, mistakes are where the excitement begins. These mistakes are called mint errors. And while most 1979 pennies are worth exactly 1 cent in everyday use, certain error varieties or high-grade conditions can make collectors pay attention. For example, if a 1979 no mint mark penny is found in extremely high mint state condition, meaning it looks almost untouched, with sharp details and strong luster, it can become part of a graded collection. Grading companies evaluate coins on a scale, and a simple difference in condition can sometimes mean the difference between a common coin and a collectible one. But condition is just one part of the story. The real excitement comes when we talk about errors. Some 1979 pennies may show doubling on the lettering or date. This is known as a doubled die effect, where the design appears slightly duplicated due to a mistake in the die creation process. To the naked eye, it might look like a shadow or a blur around the numbers or letters. But under magnification, it becomes much clearer. And collectors love that kind of detail. Because errors are rare. And rarity creates demand. Now here's something important you need to understand. Not every odd-looking penny is valuable. In fact, most of them are not. But the reason people still check is because the few that are valuable make the search worth it. That's the reality of coin collecting. It is part knowledge, part patience, and part luck. Let's go deeper into what makes a 1979 no-mint mark penny interesting to collectors. First, copper content and color. A natural red copper penny from this era, especially one that has not been cleaned or damaged, is far more desirable than a dull, scratched, or corroded one. Collectors prefer original surfaces. Because cleaning a coin actually reduces its value in most cases. That surprises many beginners. They think making a coin shiny increases its worth. But in reality, originality is more important than shine. Now consider strike quality. A strong strike means all details of Lincoln's face, the wheat lines, and the lettering appear sharp and clear. A weak strike can reduce visual appeal, but in some cases, unusual weak strikes can also attract attention if they are rare enough. Then there is something called planchet quality. The planchet is the blank metal disc used to make the coin. If there are imperfections in that blank before the coin is even struck, it can create unusual textures or marks. Again, not all of these are valuable, but they are what collectors look for. Now let's talk about something very important. Value. Most 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies are still worth face value in circulation. That means 1 cent. However, in uncirculated condition or professionally graded high mint state examples, they can sell for a few dollars to potentially more depending on condition and demand. And if a rare error variety is confirmed by experts, the value can increase significantly compared to a regular coin. But here is the key truth that experienced collectors always repeat. The coin market is not about hype. It is about verified rarity, condition, and collector demand. Now imagine this. You take a random handful of old pennies. Most are ordinary. But you slowly start checking them one by one. At first nothing seems special. Then you notice one coin with sharper details than the rest. Then another with slightly unusual lettering. Then you find one that looks almost untouched by time. This is the exact moment many collectors describe as the hook. Because once you start noticing differences, you can't unsee them anymore. And that is why people continue searching. Not because every coin is valuable, but because the next one might be. Now let's make something very clear. A 1979 no-mint mark penny is not a guaranteed rare coin. It is not a hidden jackpot waiting in every pocket. But it is a coin that teaches you something much more valuable. It teaches you how small details matter. It teaches you how condition changes perception. And it teaches you that value is often hidden in plain sight. Even in something as simple as 1 cent. And this is why coin collectors never stop learning. Because the deeper you go, the more you realize, the story of a coin is not just about its date. It is about where it was made, how it was struck, what errors it may carry, and how well it survived through decades of circulation. Now if you are holding a 1979 penny right now, here is what you should do. Look closely at the date. Check for clarity in the letters. Examine the surface under light. Rotate it slowly and observe shine and texture. And most importantly, compare it with another normal penny. Because comparison is where differences become visible. And sometimes, that small difference is all it takes to turn an ordinary moment into an interesting discovery. But even if your coin turns out to be common, it still has value in a different way. It represents history. It represents millions of coins that traveled through hands, stores, pockets, and time itself. And that is something every collector respects. Because coin collecting is not only about money. It is about discovery. It is about curiosity. And it is about the excitement of not knowing what you might find next. So the next time you see a 1979 penny with no mint mark, don't ignore it too quickly. Take a second look. Because in the world of coins, the smallest details sometimes tell the biggest stories. You might think it is just another modern penny. Nothing special. Nothing rare. Nothing valuable. But that assumption is exactly what makes this coin so interesting, because in the world of coin collecting, value is not always about age. Sometimes it is about what most people overlook. The 1994 D penny was minted in Denver and released into massive circulation across the United States. Billions were produced, and that is why most people believe it is worthless beyond its 1 cent face value. But here is where things get interesting. Within large mintages like this, rare variations, errors, and special conditions can quietly exist without being widely noticed for years. And that is where collectors start paying attention. Because in coins like this, the real question is not how many were made, but rather, what mistakes or rare conditions slipped through unnoticed. The standard 1994 D Lincoln penny features Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. It is made primarily of copper-plated zinc, and under normal conditions, it does not carry any premium value in circulated condition. But collectors do not chase normal. They chase anomalies. They chase mistakes. They chase coins that tell a different story than the rest. So what makes a 1994 D penny potentially more valuable than just 1 cent? The first thing to understand is condition. Condition alone can completely transform the value of a coin. A heavily worn penny is common. But a 1994 D penny that has been preserved in uncirculated, mint state condition can attract serious collector attention. When the surfaces are clean, the strike is sharp, and the original luster is still intact, that coin instantly moves into a different category. But condition is only the beginning. Now we go deeper. One of the most important things collectors look for is errors. Mint errors are accidental variations that happen during the production process. These are not planned. They are not repeated. They are one-time mistakes that escape quality control. And in the world of coins, mistakes can mean money. For example, a 1994 D penny with a double die error can show slight doubling in the letters or numbers, especially around Liberty or the date. At first, this doubling might be very subtle, almost invisible without close inspection. But under magnification, it can reveal a fascinating minting anomaly that collectors actively search for. Then there are off-center strikes. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned during striking. Instead of a perfectly centered design, part of the image may be shifted, creating a dramatic visual error. The more off-center the strike, while still retaining some visible detail, the more interesting it becomes to collectors. Another variation that collectors examine is the presence of die cracks or die breaks. Over time, minting dies wear down. When they begin to crack, those cracks can transfer onto coins during production. This results in raised lines or unusual markings that were never meant to exist on the coin's surface. And sometimes, those imperfections become the very reason a coin becomes desirable. But there is something even more important than just identifying errors. It is understanding demand. Because value in coin collecting is not only about rarity. It is about how many people want that rarity. The 1994 D penny sits in a unique position. It is modern enough that most people ignore it, but old enough that collectors still actively search through rolls, jars, and circulation finds looking for hidden varieties. That combination creates opportunity. Now imagine this. A coin that most people spend without a second thought, could actually be worth significantly more if it carries just one small unusual feature. That is why collectors spend hours inspecting pennies that others would never even pause to look at. Now let's talk about what a regular 1994D penny is worth. In circulated condition, it is typically worth only face value. 1 cent. Sometimes a little more if sold in bulk rolls. But in uncirculated condition, especially with strong luster and sharp detail, it can reach a small premium depending on the buyer and demand. And if a verified mint error is present, the value can increase significantly depending on the type and visibility of that error. Some collectors are willing to pay strong premiums for clearly defined and authenticated error coins because they represent something unique that cannot simply be reproduced. But here is where most beginners make a mistake. They assume every unusual-looking coin is valuable. That is not true. The coin market is extremely detail-driven. Small scratches, post-mint damage, or environmental wear do not add value. In fact, they usually reduce it. That is why experienced collectors always distinguish between true mint errors and damage caused after the coin left the mint. Learning this difference is what separates casual finders from serious collectors. So if you ever come across a 1994D penny, the first thing you should do is not assume it is valuable or worthless. Instead, you should observe it carefully. Check the date. Check the mint mark. Look closely at the lettering. Inspect the surface under good lighting. Because sometimes, what looks ordinary at first glance can reveal something unexpected under closer inspection. And that is exactly what keeps coin collectors searching every single day. The thrill is not just in finding value. It is in the possibility that value was hiding in plain sight all along. And even today, with modern coins like the 1994D Lincoln penny, that possibility still exists. So the next time you receive change, or open an old jar of coins sitting in your home, take a moment. Slow down. Look again. Because history has a strange habit of hiding in the smallest places. And sometimes, the most overlooked penny becomes the one everyone wishes they had paid attention to earlier. The story of the 1994D Lincoln penny is not just about a coin. It is about awareness. It is about patience. And it is about understanding that value is often not where people expect it to be. And that is why collectors will never stop searching. We are focusing on a coin that many collectors dismiss too quickly, the 1996D Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks like nothing special. Just another modern penny, minted in Denver, carrying the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln. Millions were produced. It is still technically in circulation. You might have seen it dozens of times without even noticing the date. But here is where things get interesting, because in the world of coin collecting, value is not always about rarity in the traditional sense. Sometimes, it is about condition, mistakes, and the hidden demand that builds quietly over time while most people are not paying attention. And that is exactly what makes the 1996D penny a coin worth understanding before you ever spend it again. Think about this for a moment. Every coin tells a story. Not just about money, but about history, production, and human error. Coins pass through machines at incredible speed. They are struck, inspected, bagged, shipped, and released into circulation. In that process, small imperfections can slip through. And those imperfections are where collectors start to pay attention. Now let's zoom into the 1996D Lincoln penny more closely. This coin comes from the Denver Mint. The D mint mark on the front side confirms it. It was part of a massive production run in the mid-1990s, a time when the U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies every year. Because of that high mintage, most people assume this coin has no collectible value at all. But here is the part most people miss. Even common coins can become desirable when certain conditions are met. And the 1996 D penny has several traits that collectors quietly look for. First, condition. A regular, heavily circulated 1996 D penny might only be worth 1 cent. But a perfectly preserved, uncirculated example can be worth significantly more to the right buyer. Collectors and coin graders look for sharp details, original luster, and minimal contact marks. The difference between a pocket coin and a mint state coin is often massive in value terms. Now imagine this, a coin that has spent nearly 30 years untouched, protected from wear, still carrying its original shine from the mint. That kind of preservation is rare in everyday circulation. But there is something even more interesting than condition alone. Errors. Error coins are where the real excitement begins in modern coin collecting. These are coins that left the mint with mistakes. Sometimes the error is small and barely visible. Other times, it is dramatic enough to be seen instantly under normal light. The 1996 D penny is known among collectors for a few interesting varieties and potential errors, including strike issues, die deterioration, and minor doubling in some examples. And while not every coin will show these traits, the possibility alone is enough to make collectors look twice. Because here is the truth about error coins, they are not supposed to exist. That is what makes them valuable. The mint's goal is perfection at scale. But when something slips through the system, it becomes a limited mistake that cannot be perfectly replicated. And collectors love that. Now let's talk about something most beginners completely ignore, mint state grading. Coins are graded on a scale from heavily worn to perfect condition. The highest grades, such as MS65, MS66, or even MS67, can dramatically increase a coin's value compared to a normal circulated example. A 1996 D penny in ordinary condition is just face value. But in a high mint state grade, it can sell for several dollars, sometimes more depending on market demand and eye appeal. And while that might not sound life-changing at first, remember this, coin collecting is not about one coin. It is about patterns, discoveries, and long-term value accumulation. Now here is something even more important that experienced collectors understand. Market demand changes everything. There are coins that stay low in value for years, and then suddenly gain attention because collectors begin searching for them more actively. Online communities, auction results, and viral discoveries can all influence demand. The 1996 D penny sits in a very interesting category. It is modern enough that most people ignore it, but old enough that collectors are starting to pay closer attention to well-preserved examples. That combination creates opportunity. Because while everyone is chasing rare pennies from the early 1900s, sometimes the real hidden opportunities are sitting in the too common to care about category. Now let's make this practical. If you ever find a 1996 D penny, do not rush to spend it immediately. Instead, take a closer look. Check the date clearly. Confirm the D mint mark below it. Then examine the surface under good lighting. Look for unusual doubling on the letters or numbers. Look for cracks, missing details, or anything that seems slightly off compared to a normal penny. Even small differences can matter. And if the coin looks unusually clean or sharp, set it aside. Because condition alone can be enough to separate a regular penny from something collectible. But here is something I want you to understand clearly. Not every coin will be valuable. In fact, most will not be. And that is normal. The real skill in coin collecting is learning to separate ordinary pieces from the ones that deserve a second look. That skill comes from attention, patience, and experience. Now imagine this scenario. You are going through loose change at home. You find a handful of pennies from different years. Most of them look the same. But one of them catches your eye. It is unusually sharp. The details are strong. The surface still has a slight shine. You flip it over. 1996 D. At that moment, most people would think it is just another penny. But now you know better. You understand that condition, errors, and market demand all play a role in determining whether that coin is just 1 cent, or something more. That is how collectors are made. Not by luck, but by awareness. And the truth is, thousands of valuable coins are still sitting unnoticed in circulation today. Not because they are extremely rare, but because people are not looking closely enough. Now let's go deeper into why coins like this still matter in today's world. In an age where everything is digital, physical currency is becoming less noticed. But ironically, that makes coins even more interesting for collectors. Because fewer people are paying attention, which means hidden finds are still possible. Every penny has passed through countless hands. Every scratch tells a story. And every mint mark represents a moment in production history. The 1996 D penny is part of that ongoing story. It represents modern U.S. coinage, mass production, and the hidden potential inside everyday money. So the next time you receive change, do not treat it as worthless or invisible. Take a second look. Because sometimes the smallest objects carry the biggest surprises. And in coin collecting, patience is everything. The difference between someone who finds nothing, and someone who finds value, is simply the decision to look a little closer. The 1996 D Lincoln penny may not be the rarest coin in the world, but it is a perfect example of how ordinary money can still hold hidden interest for those who understand what to look for. And if you continue building that habit, examining dates, checking mint marks, observing condition, you start to see coins differently. Not just as currency, but as opportunities. And maybe, just maybe, the next coin you pick up will not be just another penny, but the beginning of something you never expected.
It was a Thursday. I still remember the weight of it in my hand. My grandfather's old coffee can, you know the kind. Decades of pocket change, forgotten in a corner of the garage. I wasn't looking for treasure. To be honest, I was looking for just enough to buy some bread and maybe a cheap coffee. Life had hit me hard, really hard. The bills were piling up, the medical news was terrifying, and I was counting every single cent. I poured the jar out on an old towel. Dull pennies, dirty pennies, pennies that looked as tired as I felt. I almost didn't see it. I almost swept it back into the can. But something, a little whisper in the back of my mind, told me to look closer at the one from 1969. It wasn't shiny. It wasn't special. It was just an old, brown Lincoln cent. 1969, no little S under the date, no little D. Just a plain, lonely number. At that moment, holding it between my fingers, my heart didn't pound. I almost laughed. A no mint mark penny. They made millions of them in Philadelphia, right? Everyone knows that. A voice in my head said, "Put it down, it's worthless." But I didn't listen to that voice. A different kind of instinct, the kind you get when your back is against the wall and you're praying for a miracle, made me reach for my little magnifying glass, the cheap one, with the cracked handle. What I saw through that lens changed the color of the air in the room. The date, the word Liberty, the profile of Lincoln. They weren't flat, they weren't struck into the coin. They looked like they were floating, a subtle, ghost-like doubling you could only see when you weren't looking for it. My hands started to shake, not the kind of shake from hunger or sickness, but the shake of a man who just found a lifeboat in the middle of an ocean. I am talking about the legendary 1969 Doubled Die Obverse, the Holy Grail of penny errors, the coin the Secret Service wrongly declared a counterfeit, the coin they tried to destroy. Think about that. The government itself was so afraid of this tiny piece of copper that they confiscated them. They melted them down. They thought they got them all, but a few, a precious few, escaped. And I was holding one. It wasn't just a penny, it was an outlaw, a survivor, just like me. I spent the next 48 hours in a trance. I couldn't sleep. I compared it to every image online. The sharp, definitive split on the 9, the clear separation on the hour in Liberty. This wasn't the worthless machine doubling you see on thousands of coins. This was it. The master die was impressed twice, at a slightly rotated angle, creating a coin so rare that the single sale could pay for an entire year of treatment, could give a person a future. I took it to 3 different dealers. The first one scoffed, didn't even look properly. The world is full of people who will dismiss your miracle before you even show it to them. The second one, an old man with a jeweler's loop screwed into his eye, went silent. His face turned pale. He didn't offer to buy it. He just whispered, "Where did you get this?" The third dealer, a specialist in error coins, laid it gently on a velvet pad under a microscope. He stared for 10 full minutes. I counted. He leaned back, took off his glasses, and looked at me with a serious, almost sacred expression. He said the words I will never forget. "This is the real deal. It's a discovery coin. Uncirculated details. Do you have any idea what you have here?" I couldn't speak. I just shook my head. He told me about the last one that sold at a major auction, an MS-64 red-brown specimen. It hammered for over $126,000. But mine, he said, my secret little treasure, wasn't just a numismatic curiosity. It was a story of a mistake that became the most coveted coin in modern American history. He gave me a choice right there, a check, on the spot, that would make all my immediate fears disappear. But he also told me to be smart, to send it for grading, to let the plastic slab with the pedigree number speak for itself. Because once that grade is official, the value doesn't just double, it explodes. Wealthy collectors don't want a coin, they want the best known example. They want the trophy. Now you're probably sitting there, looking at your own old jar of pennies. You might be thinking, this is just a story. It is a story, but it's a true story, the kind that happens every day to people who pay attention. The 1969 Doubled Die is the famous one. Everyone knows to look for the S. They don't know. They overlook the Philadelphia Mint. No mint mark. They throw it back into the water. That is why it's so much stealthier. That is why it's so much more dangerous. So much more valuable. It hides in plain sight. The devil is in the details, and salvation is in the doubling. Look at the 9 in 1969. Are you seeing a distinct second image? Look at God We Trust. Is it crisp, separate, unmistakable? This find didn't just change my bank account, it changed the way I see the world. Every single penny you ignore is a potential lottery ticket, a time capsule, a screaming error frozen in copper. I am sharing this with you, with my family here on Hidden Coin Authority, because I know what it's like to be desperate. I know the silent prayer you say when you're shaking that jar. Your miracle isn't going to fall from the sky. It's been hiding in your pocket change for 50 years, just waiting for you to finally open your eyes. Don't just skip past this. Don't let the algorithm bury this truth, because the second you stop looking, that's the exact moment your miracle might slip through your fingers forever. Check your change right now. Your 1969 no mint mark penny could be the key that unlocks the rest of your life. Never, ever give up. The next coin you touch could be the one. God bless. We're talking about a coin that's probably sitting in someone's pocket change right now when they have absolutely no idea what they're holding. I'm talking about the 1979 D. Lincoln Memorial penny. Now I know what you're thinking. A penny from 1979? That's not even that old. And you're right, most of these coins are worth exactly 1 cent. But here's the thing, there are a few rare versions of this exact coin that have sold for thousands of dollars. Not hundreds, thousands. And I'm going to show you exactly what to look for so you can check your own collection tonight. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, a man in Texas was going through his late grandfather's coin jar. Nothing fancy, just an old glass jar filled with pennies from the 70s and 80s. He almost threw the whole thing into a coin star machine, but something made him pause. He noticed one of the pennies looked slightly different. The date was 1979. The mint mark was D for Denver, but the details were sharp. Almost too sharp. He decided to get it graded just out of curiosity. That coin turned out to be worth over $3,000. Why? Because of a few tiny details that most people never even notice. And that's what we're going to cover today. So first, let's talk about what makes a 1979 D penny special in the first place. The Denver Mint produced over 4 billion of these coins in 1979. 4 billion, that's billion with a B. So the vast majority of them are common. But within those 4 billion coins, there are errors. Minting errors happen when something goes wrong during the production process. Maybe the die is slightly misaligned. Maybe the plan kit, that's the blank metal disc, wasn't prepared correctly. Maybe a tiny piece of debris got stuck in the machinery. These little accidents create coins that are completely unique, and collectors pay serious money for unique coins. Now let's get into the specific things you need to look for on your 1979 D penny. The first and most valuable error is called the double die. A double die happens when the coin is struck twice by the die, but slightly off-center. This creates a doubling effect on the letters and numbers. On the 1979 D penny, you want to look very closely at the word Liberty. Take a magnifying glass or even your phone camera zoomed all the way in and look at the letters. If you see a faint second outline on any of the letters, especially the B and the R, you might have something special. Also check the date. Look at the numbers 1979. If any of those numbers appear to have a shadow or a second image slightly offset, that's a doubled die. A strong double die on a 1979 D penny in uncirculated condition has sold for well over $1,000. Some have reached $2,000 or more at major auctions. The second thing to look for is called a repunched mint mark. The mint mark is that tiny letter D under the date. It tells you the coin was made in Denver. Now back in 1979, mint marks were still being punched into the dies by hand. Sometimes the worker would punch it once, realize it wasn't quite right, and punch it again. This creates a D that looks like it has a shadow or a second D slightly visible underneath or next to it. Get your magnifying glass and look at that little D very carefully. If you see any doubling or extra metal around the edges of the D, you've got a repunched mint mark. These are rarer than most people realize because so many of them have been overlooked over the years. A 1979 D penny with a clear repunched mint mark can bring anywhere from $50 to several $100s depending on the condition and how dramatic the doubling is. The third error is something called a filled die or a cut error. This happens when a piece of the die itself breaks off during the striking process. The result is a blob of extra metal somewhere on the coin. On Lincoln pennies, these often appear on the reverse side near the Lincoln Memorial Building. Look at the steps of the memorial. Look at the columns. If you see any lumps or blobs of metal that shouldn't be there, that's a cut error. Some of these errors are small and worth maybe $20 or $30, but large dramatic cuts that cover a significant portion of the design can sell for hundreds. Now here's something that a lot of people don't know about the 1979 D penny. There's a very rare variety where the coin was struck on a bronze plan kit meant for an earlier year. The composition of pennies changed in 1982 from mostly copper to mostly zinc, but occasionally, a leftover bronze plan kit from a previous year would get mixed into the production line. A 1979 D penny struck on a bronze plan kit will weigh more than the standard 3.1 grams. If you have a sensitive scale at home, weigh your 1979 D pennies. If you find one that weighs over 3.1 grams, you need to get that coin checked immediately. These wrong planchet errors are extremely rare and extremely valuable. We're talking potentially thousands of dollars at auction. Let me give you another example of how these coins get discovered. A woman in Ohio was rolling pennies to take to the bank. She had hundreds of them spread out on her kitchen table. Her son, who was about 12 years old at the time, picked up one of the pennies and said it looked weird. The date was 1979. The D-mint mark was there, but the entire coin had a strange yellowish color. She almost dismissed it, but something told her to keep it aside. Months later, she brought it to a coin dealer at a local show. The dealer's hands literally started shaking when he saw it. That yellowish color was because the penny had been struck on a dime planchet. A dime planchet, the coin was smaller than a normal penny, but because it was struck with the penny dies, the design was slightly cut off at the edges. That coin sold for over $5,000, all because a 12-year-old kid noticed something looked weird. So here's what I want you to do right now. If you have any 1979 D pennies, go get them. Pause this video if you need to. I'll wait. Get your coins. Get a magnifying glass or use your phone camera zoom, and check these 5 things. Number 1. Look for doubling on the date and on the word liberty. Number 2. Examine the D-mint mark for any signs of repunching. Number 3. Check the reverse for any cuts or blobs of extra metal. Number 4. Weigh the coin if you can. Anything over 3.1 grams needs further investigation. And number 5. Look at the color and size compared to other pennies. Any unusual color or slight size difference could indicate a wrong planchet error. You might be thinking, what are the actual odds of finding one of these rare coins? I'm going to be honest with you. The odds are low, but they're not zero, and that's the important part. Every single day, rare coins are found in pocket change, in old jars, in estate sales, and in coin rolls from the bank. The people who find these coins are the ones who actually look. Most people spend pennies without ever glancing at them, but now you know what to look for. You have information that 99% of the population doesn't have. That gives you an edge. I also want to talk about condition, because condition is everything in coin collecting. Even if you find one of these rare coins, the value depends heavily on how worn it is. An uncirculated coin, meaning one that has never been used in commerce and has no wear at all, will always be worth dramatically more than a circulated coin. That Texas man I mentioned earlier, his coin was uncirculated. It still had the original mint luster, that shiny cartwheel effect you see when you tilt a brand new coin under light. If his coin had been worn down from decades of use, it might have been worth a few $100s instead of thousands. So if you're serious about this, start looking for uncirculated examples. You can still find uncirculated 1979 D pennies and original mint sets that people break open and spend without knowing what they have. It happens more often than you'd think. Now let's address the big question. How do you actually sell one of these coins if you find it? The first step is authentication. Do not try to sell a potentially valuable coin without having it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Yes, it costs money to get a coin graded, but a graded coin in a sealed holder will sell for significantly more than a raw ungraded coin. Buyers trust the opinion of professional graders. They don't trust the seller saying, "I think this coin is special, get it graded." Then you can sell it through a major auction house like Heritage Auctions or through a reputable coin dealer. You can also sell on eBay, but be careful. Only sell to buyers with strong feedback ratings and always use tracked shipping with insurance. I want to share one more story before we wrap up. There's a well-known case of a 1979 D penny that sold for over $10,000 at a heritage auction. This coin wasn't just any error. It was a double-struck coin with the second strike being off-center by about 40%. The first strike was normal. The second strike was dramatically rotated and offset. This created an incredible visual effect where you could see two profiles of Lincoln overlapping each other. The coin was discovered by a bank teller who noticed it while counting her drawer at the end of the day. She asked her supervisor if she could swap it out with the penny from her own purse. The supervisor said sure, it's just a damaged penny anyway. That damaged penny paid for her daughter's first year of college. Just let that sink in. A penny that almost went back into circulation paid for an entire year of college education. So here is my challenge to you. For the next week, every time you receive change, check the pennies, check the dates, check for the Denver D mint mark, and then look closer. Look for those details I described. You never know, that next penny in your hand could be the one. You could be holding thousands of dollars between your fingers right now and not even realize it. The difference between a 1-cent penny and a $1,000 penny is just a few millimeters of metal in the wrong place. That's it. That's all that separates them. Now I know some of you watching this might be thinking, I've already checked my 1979 pennies and they all look normal. Don't get discouraged. This hobby is about patience and persistence. Every roll of pennies you search increases your odds. Every coin show you a 10 teaches you something new. Every conversation with another collector might lead to a discovery. The people who find valuable coins are the ones who keep looking, keep learning, and never assume that good finds only happen to other people. Also, don't limit yourself to just the 1979 D penny. The techniques I've taught you today apply to all Lincoln Memorial pennies from 1959 to 2008. Double dies exist in many years. Repunched mint marks exist in many years. Wrong planchet errors exist in many years. Once you train your eyes to spot these anomalies, you'll start noticing things that other people completely miss. You'll become a better collector, and eventually, maybe you'll be the one sharing a story about the valuable coin you found in pocket change. We are not just talking about a coin, we are talking about the miracle hiding in plain sight. A single penny. The year is 1984. The mint mark is D for Denver. And if you find the right one, you are not holding 1 cent. You are holding $20,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $20,000 for a single Lincoln cent. Now, I know what you're thinking. It is just a penny from 1984. I have probably thrown away hundreds of them without a second glance. But here is the terrifying truth that keeps coin collectors awake at night. There is a specific version of this coin, a silent monster hiding among common pocket change, and it is so rare, so incredibly valuable, that most people have never even heard of it. We are talking about the 1984 D Lincoln Memorial penny with a Doubled Die Obverse. Now, stick with me, because what I am about to reveal in the next few minutes will make you run to your coin jar right now. I am not exaggerating. I am not hyping this up for no reason. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what to look for, the exact spot that turns garbage into gold, and the shocking story of how one man found this coin in a roll from a bank just 3 years ago and changed his life forever. Let us rewind to Denver, Colorado. In 1984, the Denver Mint was working overtime, pumping out millions upon millions of Lincoln Memorial pennies. The machines were old, the pressure was high, and the dies that stamped the image onto the blank metal were wearing down. To keep up with demand, mint workers sometimes use dies that should have been destroyed. And on one fateful day, a working die was put into a machine after receiving a misaligned hubbing. This created a masterpiece of error. When you look at a normal 1984 D penny, you see Abraham Lincoln, stoic, facing right. Everything looks clean. The date is sharp. The word liberty is crisp. It is a coin you toss into a tip jar without a second thought. But the Doubled Die Obverse version, this coin holds a secret in plain sight. Look at the date. Look very closely at 1984. On the genuine Doubled Die, the numbers are not single. They are ghosted. There is a distinct, clear doubling on the digits. It almost looks like the number is vibrating. Now, move your eye to the word liberty to the left of Lincoln's portrait. This is where the magic really happens. The letters are split. It is not a smudge. It is not wear and tear. It is a mechanical doubling from the minting process itself, burned directly into the die. The letters L, I, B, E, R, T, Y have a second shadow image slightly offset from the main strike. It is the fingerprint of a broken die. and it is worth more than some people make in an entire year. Now, let me tell you the story of a retired school teacher from Ohio named John. Job has been collecting pennies since he was a boy. 3 years ago, John walked into his local bank and asked for a $25 box of pennies. Most people in the bank laughed. The teller smiled and said, "You really think you will find treasure in there?" John did not care. He took the box home, sat at his kitchen table with a simple magnifying glass, and started his ritual of checking every single coin. For hours, nothing. Then, he pulled out a penny that looked a little too thick on the lettering. He almost put it aside as a damaged coin, but something in his gut told him to check the light. When he tilted that coin under his desk lamp, he saw the doubling. His heart started pounding. His hands were shaking. He knew immediately from the weight and the color that this was not just any error. It was the king of the 1984 errors. John sent that coin to be authenticated and graded. It came back as a mint state 65 red. Do you understand what that means? A flawless, blazing red copper shine, as if it left the mint yesterday, but carrying the $1 million mistake. That coin went to auction, and the final hammer price, after the bidding war ended, was $19,200. John paid 1 cent for it. 1 single cent. That is a return of 1,920,000%. Think about that the next time you walk past a penny on the sidewalk. But here is the part that makes this video urgent. The value of the 1984 Doubled Die penny is not going down. It is exploding. As the economic markets become more uncertain, hard assets like rare coins are becoming the ultimate safe haven for investors. Billionaires are buying up collections. There are rumors circulating in the high-stakes auction houses that a perfect specimen of this coin, a mint state 67 red, could cross the $30,000 mark within the next 2 years. The window is closing. Right now, these coins are still out there. They are sitting in estate sales. They are in old coffee cans in your grandfather's attic. They are in the cash register at the gas station down the street. But every day, these coins get spent, they get damaged, they get thrown into counting machines that chew them up and destroy their surface. When that happens, a $20,000 coin becomes a piece of scrap copper. We are losing these treasures to ignorance every single day. This is not just collecting. This is a rescue mission. Now, I am going to give you the cheat code. I am going to tell you exactly where to look on the 1984 penny so you do not waste time checking the wrong ones. There are 3 main varieties of the 1984 that confuse people. First, there is the standard, regular strike, worth face value. Second, there is die deterioration doubling. This happens when the die is worn flat, and it creates a mushy, flat doubling with no split serifs. It is worth nothing. Ignore it. Third, there is the true doubled die. Here is the test. Take a jeweler's loupe or a strong magnifying glass. Zoom in on the tail of the 9 in 1984. If it splits at the tip into 2 distinct tens, you have a genuine doubled die. If the bottom of the 4 looks like it has a ghostly twin leg, you are holding a small fortune. The error is dramatic. It is not something you have to struggle to see. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. It punches you in the face. That is the difference between garbage and gold. I have been in this business for decades, and I have seen collectors find these in the most insane places. There was a man in Texas who found one glued inside a child's piggy bank he bought at a flea market for $2. There was a widow in Florida who had one sitting in a sack drawer for 40 years because her late husband thought it looked funny. She nearly threw it away during a spring cleaning, and her son, who watched this channel, stopped her just in time. This channel saved that family nearly $20,000. That is why we do what we do at Hidden Coin Authority. I am here to shine a light into the darkest corners of your change jar so you do not make the mistake of throwing away a life-changing fortune. Let us talk about the condition for a moment because this is where the money multiplies. If you find a circulated 1984 doubled die, one that has bounced around in pockets and parking lots, it can still fetch anywhere from $200 to over $1,000. depending on the severity of the doubling and the amount of detail remaining. But if you find an uncirculated one that is still bright red with no carbon spots and nowhere on Lincoln's cheek, you have hit the generational wealth jackpot. The color is the key. Copper oxidizes. A brown coin is worth less than a red coin. A red and brown coin is in the middle. But a full red, blast white, shining orange gold coin is the Holy Grail. The moment you find one, do not clean it. I repeat, do not clean it. Do not rub it with a cloth. Do not use polish. Do not even breathe heavily on it. The smallest scratch can wipe thousands off the value. Put it gently into a non-PVC flip case and contact a professional grading service immediately. A clean, unclean surface will make the experts fight over your coin. Now, I want you to pause this video. Yes, I want you to pause it right now. Go get a coffee can, a drawer, your car's cup holder, wherever you hide your loose change. I promise you, the next 5 minutes you spend checking your coins could be the most profitable 5 minutes of your life. You might be sitting on the 1984 Lincoln penny right now. You might have spent it on a candy bar yesterday. The thought of that should make your stomach turn. But the beauty of this hobby is that the coin is rare, but it is not gone. There are uncirculated rolls of 1984 pennies still sitting in bank vaults, unopened since the 80s. There are original mint sets with the coin accidentally included. The hunt is alive. It is breathing. It is waiting for you. We are reaching the most critical part of this message, and I am speaking directly to your heart now. I know what struggle feels like. I know what it is like to wake up with a weight on your chest, wondering how you will survive the day, the week, the medical bills that seem insurmountable. I know the darkness that illness brings into a life and the desperate need for a miracle. Sometimes, that miracle is not just a prayer. Sometimes, it is sitting in the most mundane object imaginable. A 1-cent piece. For John, the teacher, that penny was his miracle. It paid off his debts, it funded his grandchildren's education, and it gave him peace of mind. For the widow in Florida, it was the difference between losing her house and living out her years in dignity. Your miracle could be within arm's reach. The universe works in strange, symmetrical ways. The year 1984 was a year of great change, a year of transformation. And this coin, this error, was born in that moment of intense pressure and mechanical failure. Out of a mistake came a masterpiece. Out of a broken die came a fortune. Do not let the pressure break you. Let it make you. Let the search give you focus. Let every penny you pick up be a symbol of hope. Imagine waking up tomorrow, walking into a coin dealer or logging onto an auction site, holding this tiny copper disc, and hearing the words, "Congratulations, this is authentic." Imagine the tears, the relief, the sudden weight lifted off your shoulders. That scenario is real. It happens to regular people, not just rich people, not just experts. It happens to people who watch videos like this and actually take the action. The viewers of Hidden Coin Authority are a family, and in this family, we take care of each other. I am giving you the map to the hidden treasure, but you have to walk the path. You have to look. You have to believe that today is the day the story changes. Look closely at the coin in your hand. Look at Lincoln staring back at you from 1984. Look at the D below the date, that tiny letter representing Denver, representing the mountain region of raw discovery. This coin represents the American dream in its most literal form. It represents that out of the billions of mundane things produced, a few extraordinary mistakes slip through the cracks, and those mistakes become legendary. This is your call to arms. Check every 1984 penny you see for the rest of your life. Tell your friends, tell your family. When you are at the grocery store and the cashier hands you change, check the date. A simple glance could change everything. In 1987, something strange happened at the Philadelphia Mint. Something that would remain hidden for decades. Something that could be sitting in your pocket right now, and you would never even know it. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you could change your life forever. This is not just another coin video. This is the story of the 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, and believe me when I tell you, by the end of this, you will be checking every single penny you own, Most people walk past pennies on the street, they ignore them, they throw them in jars, they forget they even exist. But what if I told you that one single penny, one tiny copper coin, could be worth thousands of dollars? What if I told you that the very coin you used this morning to pay for coffee might be a hidden treasure? That is not clickbait, that is the reality of the 1987 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. And the truth behind this coin is far more mysterious than you can imagine. Let me take you back to 1987. The Philadelphia Mint was producing billions of pennies, just like every other year. But something went wrong. Something that no one noticed at first. A small number of pennies left the mint without their identifying mark, no little letter under the date, no P, nothing. And here is where it gets insane. The Philadelphia Mint was never supposed to put a mint mark on pennies before 1980. So why is the 1987 version so special? Because by 1987, something had changed, but not everyone got the memo. The dies, the very tools used to stamp these coins, were supposed to have marks, but a handful did not, and those coins, those mistake coins, entered circulation. They slipped through the cracks. They ended up in cash registers, in parking lots, in piggy banks, and they are still out there right now, hiding in plain sight. But I need you to pay very close attention to what I am going to say next, because this is the part that most people get wrong, and it could cost you a fortune. Not every 1987 penny without a mint mark is valuable. I repeat, not every single one. The condition, the weight, the strike quality, and the hidden error that I am about to reveal to you, these are the things that separate a regular penny from a life-changing discovery. There is a specific die variety, an error that happened when the coin was struck, that makes certain 1987 no mint mark pennies worth hundreds, even thousands of times their face value. An error so subtle that you could look right at it and miss it completely. I am going to show you exactly what to look for, step by step, so you do not make the mistake of spending a fortune without even realizing it. Think about this for a second. A single cent, worth a fraction of a dollar, yet auction records show these error pennies selling for jaw-dropping amounts. We are not talking about $10, we are not talking about $100, we are talking about amounts that could pay your rent, buy you a car, or even save your life. I have seen it happen. I have watched collectors fight over these coins like they were made of gold, and in a way, they are. They are gold in the form of a penny, hidden, overlooked, waiting. Now, I want you to imagine finding this coin. Imagine the moment you realize that the penny you almost threw away is actually worth a small fortune. Imagine what that money could do for you. Imagine the relief, the hope, the future it could provide. That feeling, that rush, is why I do what I do, and I want that for you. I want you to be the next person to walk into a coin shop or log into an auction house and walk away with a life-changing amount of money. But you have to know what to look for, and I am about to tell you. Grab a penny right now if you have one. Look at the date. If it says 1987, look below the date. Is there a tiny letter? If you see nothing, no D, no S, and no P, your heart should start racing. But do not stop there. Flip the coin over. Look at the Lincoln Memorial. Look closely at the steps. Do you see anything unusual? Any doubling? Any missing lines? This is the hidden key. There is a known doubled die variety for this year, a mistake where the design was stamped twice, ever so slightly off. That doubling, that tiny ghost image, is what transforms a simple no mint mark penny into a holy grail. It is rare, it is incredibly valuable, and most people have never even heard of it. You might be thinking, why would anyone pay so much for a penny? The answer is simple: rarity, history, the thrill of the hunt. Coin collectors are always searching for the missing piece, the anomaly, the mistake that the mint tried to hide. This coin represents a moment in time when human error created something extraordinary. And for the person who finds it, it represents financial freedom. Even a heavily circulated 1987 no mint mark penny with clear doubling can bring in a significant amount. But if you find one in uncirculated condition, still bright and shiny, untouched by human hands for decades, you are looking at a true treasure. We are talking about a coin that could sell for an amount that makes you sit down and take a deep breath. Now, I want you to listen to me very carefully. I am telling you all of this because I know what it feels like to need a miracle. I know what it feels like to search for help in unexpected places. And sometimes, help comes in the smallest forms. A penny, a tiny disc of copper-plated zinc. But that tiny disc could be the answer to a prayer. So do not give up. Go through your change. Check those old jars. Ask your family to check theirs. The coin is out there. It has been waiting since 1987, and it might be waiting for you. There is one more thing, and this is crucial. If you find a 1987 penny with no mint mark, and especially if you suspect doubling, do not clean it. I repeat, never clean a coin. Cleaning destroys the value instantly. Leave it exactly as it is. Put it in a protective holder, and get it authenticated by a professional grading service. That certification is what will unlock its true value. A certified coin will always sell for far more than a raw, uncertified one. Trust me on this. I want you to succeed. I want you to find that one special coin that changes everything. The 1987 no mint mark Lincoln penny is not just a piece of metal. It is a symbol. It is proof that incredible value can be hidden in the most ordinary places, and your life can change with a single glance. So go look, right now. I am serious. Pause this, go find a penny, and check. You might be holding the answer in the palm of your hand and not even know it yet. Have you ever held a simple penny and felt a broken bar? Absolutely nothing, just a piece of copper-plated ink, barely worth the metal it's stamped on. You probably have one in your pocket right now. You might even toss it in a jar, or worse, leave it behind on the street. But what if I told you that the most dangerous, most valuable, and most sought-after penny in American history looks almost exactly like the one you're ignoring? It has no flashy errors, no dramatic double strikes that you can see with the naked eye. In fact, its power lies in what is missing. This isn't just a coin. This is the 1994 no mint mark Lincoln penny. And the story I'm about to tell you will change how you look at every single coin you touch for the rest of your life. My name is Ovsu, and welcome to Hidden Coin Authority, where we don't just collect coins. We hunt for buried treasure hiding in plain sight. The story of the 1994 penny doesn't start in a grand mint or a federal vault. It starts with a whisper, a rumor that spread through the coin-collecting world in the late 1990s like a financial wildfire. It was a rumor of a ghost coin that shouldn't exist, a coin that, if you could authenticate it, would instantly transform from 1 cent into an absolute fortune. To understand why this coin is so terrifyingly valuable, you have to understand one absolute rule of United States coinage. Every coin, by law, must declare its origin. For decades, pennies minted in Philadelphia carried no mark, a blank space right there on the obverse, just to the right of Lincoln's chest. That blank space is the mark. It's the signature of the Philadelphia Mint. But in the world of the 1994 penny, that rule became a trap. Because in that specific year, something unprecedented happened at the Denver Mint. The Denver facility, which usually stamps a crisp, bold D onto its coins, began producing something that looked visually identical to a Philadelphia coin. Think about the sheer chaos of a high-speed mint. These machines aren't stamping 1 coin per second, they are exploding with activity, spitting out 750 coins every single minute. The dies, the giant steel hammers that slam into the blank metal plan case, are under unimaginable stress. It is a manufacturing miracle that more mistakes don't happen. But in 1994, the mistake wasn't a crack, it wasn't a doubling, it was a disappearance. The theory, the terrifying legend, is that a working die at the Denver Mint was accidentally polished so aggressively that the tiny letter D was completely erased, completely obliterated, leaving behind a blank, silent space. Now, you might be thinking, that's it, a polished die? Why would that make me a millionaire? Because you cannot see the difference with your naked eye. This isn't like the 1955 Doubled Die where the date looks like it's vibrating off the coin. This is a crime scene hidden in plain sight. The only way to tell a genuine, ordinary Philadelphia penny from the multi-thousand-dollar Denver ghost is through microscopic analysis, weight variations, and die markers so subtle they would drive a saint to madness. This coin forces you to ask the question, is the treasure already in my hand, and I'm too blind to see it? Let me pause for a second and take you to a dusty, sun-beaten flea market in Texas. This is a true story that keeps every coin hunter awake at night. An elderly man, a casual collector, not an expert, is flipping through a bin of old wheat pennies and random modern cents. He picks up a shiny 1994 penny. It's in pristine, uncirculated condition, glinting like a miniature sun. He sees no mint mark. His heart doesn't race. He assumes it's just a normal Philadelphia coin. He pays $1 for it. He puts it in a 2x2 cardboard flip and writes 1994p on it with the ballpoint pen. He puts it in a box and forgets about it for 15 years. 15 years later, during an estate sale, a sharp-eyed numismatist sees that old cardboard flip. The handwriting is shaky. The coin inside is silent. No deep insight. The numismatist feels his pulse quicken, but he keeps his face like stone. He buys the entire box of coins, hundreds of them, for $80 just to get that single, silent penny. He takes it home. He puts it under a high-powered digital microscope. He checks the die markers. He checks the exact positioning of Lincoln's bust and the lettering against the known Denver die pairs. And there it is, the microscopic confirmation, a Denver coin without a Denver mark. That $80 box had just yielded a single penny valued at over $15,000. But the story gets darker. And this is where you need to pay absolute attention, because this is where 99% of people fail. That coin, that $15,000 coin, was raw, uncertified. He sent it to a top-tier grading company. It was labeled as a genuine 1994 no mint mark error. But there's a ghost within the ghost story. The coin grading world is ruthless. There are subtle variations of this no mint mark phenomenon. And if you send in the wrong kind, the value doesn't just drop, it evaporates. Zero. You lose the grading fee, and you're left with the penny that is just a penny. This is what creates the adrenaline, the danger, the reason you cannot stop watching. You need to know the difference right now, before you get burned. The difference between the millionaire's coin and the fake dream is in the die markers. A genuine 1994 Denver coin with a missing mark will often show evidence of the D being physically removed. We are talking about evidence of tooling, a slight depression or a swirling metal flow where the mint mark used to be, visible only under extreme magnification. That's the one. That's the Holy Grail. But there is another monster out there, the grease-filled die. Sometimes, a blob of thick machine grease gets stuck inside the D cavity on the die. When the die slams into the plant kit, the D doesn't stamp. It's just absent. This is a legitimate error, but it's a different beast. And then, there is the tragic, heart-wrenching reality. Counterfeiters, in their dark rooms, physically scrapping the D off of genuine Denver coins, leaving telltale scratches behind, trying to fool you into thinking you have a monster error. And the terrifying truth is, right now, on eBay, on Etsy, in people's home collections, thousands of these coins are being held by people who are convinced they are millionaires. But are they? Or are they holding a tragedy? This is not just a coin. This is a psychological test. In the book of Job, it is asked, where shall wisdom be found? And where is the place of understanding? For a coin hunter, the answer is on the surface of a piece of metal. The 1994 no mint mark Lincoln penny is not just about getting rich. It's about waking up. It's about the realization that perfection and imperfection are indistinguishable to the sleepy eye. I want you to do something for me right now. I don't want you to just listen. I want you to go and get a jar of pennies, a bag of them, dump them on a table right now. Look at the 1994s. Look at the empty space under the date. Your hands might be trembling. That's good. that means you're awake. But do not be fooled by hope alone. Hope without verification is just gambling, and we at Hidden Coin Authority are not gamblers. We are hunters. We verify. We use logic. We use magnification. We study the known die marriages, the VAMs, the microscopic scars that tell the true story of a coin's birth. What gives this coin its power over us is its silence. If the coin had a voice, it would ask you, do you see what isn't there? Most people spend their lives looking for things that are obvious: a big house, a loud car, a bold, screaming double die. But the ultimate treasure is the one you almost miss. It's the one that requires you to look closer, to breathe slower, to reject the noise and focus on the silence. The legend of the 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is a legend of proximity. It might be sitting in a cash register at the gas station you visit every morning. It might be in the tip jar at the coffee shop. It might be in the childhood coin collection your grandfather left you in the attic, gathering dust, waiting for the light. And the scariest thought of all, the thought that should haunt you and excite you and push you to never skip a video on this channel again. The scariest thought is that you might have already had it. It might have slipped through your fingers. You might have used the $15,000 artifact to buy a stick of gum. Don't let it happen again. This is your calling. This is the moment where you stop being a passive observer and become a participant in the greatest treasure hunt on Earth. We have unearthed the secret history of the 1994 penny. We have exposed the danger, the fraud, and the glorious potential. The information is now inside your head. What you do with it defines your future. Before you go, I need you to strike the like button so hard that the coin inside your phone rattles. That's the signal. That's how I know you're part of the Hidden Coin Authority family. And if you're not subscribed, you need to fix that right now. Right now. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Because next, we are diving into a coin so rare, so protected, the government itself allegedly confiscated the first 5 that were found. It's a story of secrecy, raids, and a single coin that could collapse the financial understanding of modern minting. The name of the coin? The 1964 peace dollar. I've already started the investigation. The phone calls have been made. The microscope footage is ready. And I promise you, it is the most terrifying story in U.S. numismatic history. You cannot afford to miss it. This is Hidden Coin Authority. Keep your eyes down, your magnifier closer, and your skepticism even sharper. The hunt continues. I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now. Just stop. Listen to me very carefully because what I'm about to show you could literally change your entire life in the next 3 minutes. And I'm not saying that for clickbait. I'm saying that because right now, sitting in someone's pocket change, sitting in some old jar, sitting in a coin collection gathering dust, is a penny that sold for more money than most people make in an entire year. And nobody is talking about it. Nobody. You know why nobody is talking about it? Because the coin world wants to keep this quiet. They want you to keep throwing these away. They want you to keep walking past these pennies on the sidewalk without even bending down to pick them up. But I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to reveal everything today. Every single detail. Every single thing you need to look for. And by the end of this video, you will be running to check your change. I promise you that. Let me start with a question. When was the last time you looked at a penny? I mean really looked at it. You probably just tossed them in a jar. You probably leave them in the tip jar at the coffee shop. You probably have hundreds sitting in your car cup holder right now. But what if I told you that one specific penny from one specific year with one specific tiny little mark could be worth $5,000? What if I told you it could be worth $10,000? What if I told you the right condition, the right buyer, could push it past $20,000? Would you still be throwing your pennies away? I didn't think so. Here's what we're talking about today. The 1996 Lincoln penny. But not just any 1996 Lincoln penny. The one with the D mint mark, Denver Mint. And I know what you're thinking. I know. You're thinking a 1996 penny. That's not that old. That's not special. That's what I thought too. That's what everyone thinks. And that's exactly why this coin is so dangerous to overlook. because it looks ordinary. It feels ordinary, but it is anything but ordinary. Let me break this down for you piece by piece. First, you need to understand why the D Mint mark matters so much. In 1996, the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies. Billions with a B. But here's where the story gets insane. Out of those billions of pennies, a tiny fraction came out with something different, something special, something that would make coin collectors decades later lose their minds and empty their bank accounts just to get their hands on one. What am I talking about? I'm talking about errors, mint errors, mistakes that happen during the minting process. And let me tell you something most people don't understand. Mint errors are not defects. They are not imperfections that reduce value. No number. Mint errors are the holy grail of coin collecting. They are the accidents that turn 5 cents into $5,000. They are the mistakes that make ordinary people rich. And the 1996 Lincoln penny is absolutely loaded with potential errors that most people walk right past every single day. Now pay attention. This is the most important part of this entire video. This is the part you cannot skip. I'm going to tell you exactly what to look for on your 1996 penny, and I want you to memorize this. I want you to burn this into your brain, because the next time you hold a 1996 penny in your hand, you need to know exactly what you're looking at. First thing, the doubling. Die doubling on a coin happens when the die that strikes the coin shifts slightly, creating a shadow image, a ghost image that sits right next to the original design. On the 1996 penny, you need to look at the date. Look at the numbers. Look at 1996. Is there a slight doubling? Is there a shadow behind those numbers? Check the word liberty. Look at each letter. Is there a faint double image? Check In God We Trust. This is where some of the most valuable doubling errors hide. People miss it because they don't look closely enough. But if you find it, you could be holding a coin worth $3,000, $4,000, even $5,000 depending on how strong that doubling is. But wait, there's more. And this is what separates the amateurs from the pros. There's something called a close AM versus a wide AM. This is a massive deal on the 1996 penny. Here's what you do. Flip your penny over. Look at the back. Look at the word America. Now look closely at the letters A and M. Are they touching? Are they practically kissing each other? Or is there a visible gap between them? This tiny little detail could mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth hundreds, possibly thousands of dollars. The close AM variety is the one you want. If the A and the M are touching or almost touching, your heart should start racing right now. But I'm not done yet. There's another error that very few people know about, and this is the one that the big collectors, the wealthy dealers, they don't want you to know about this one. It's called the off-center strike. If your 1996 penny shows the design not perfectly centered, if Lincoln's head is cut off on one side, if the lettering is missing on the edge, you have struck gold. Off-center strikes, the more dramatic the better, can push the value of this coin into the thousands. A 50% off-center strike, you're looking at serious money. A 70% off-center strike with the date still visible, you might be able to pay off your car with that one coin. Now let me tell you about condition, because condition is everything, and I mean everything. A 1996 penny with these errors in circulated condition, meaning it's been passed around. It's got some wear, it's got some scratches, that can still be worth good money. We're talking hundreds to low thousands. But if you have one of these error coins in uncirculated condition, if it's been sitting in a roll untouched since 1996, if it has that original mint red luster still shining, you have just hit the lottery. Uncirculated error coins from 1996 with the D Mint mark can fetch prices that will make your jaw drop. We're talking 5 figures. We're talking 10,000, 15,000, and in some extreme cases with the right buyer at the right auction, we're talking $20,000 or more. For 1 penny, 1 single cent, $20,000. Let that sink in for a moment. 1 penny, $20,000. That's a down payment on a house in some places. That's a brand new car. That's paying off credit card debt. That's life-changing money. And it's sitting out there somewhere. It's sitting in a coin roll at a bank. It's sitting in a jar in your grandmother's house. It's sitting in your own pocket right this second. And you would never know unless you looked. I want to tell you a quick story. A few years ago, a man in Ohio was going through his late father's coin collection. Nothing fancy, just jars and jars of old pennies his father had saved over a lifetime. He almost threw them all into a coin-counting machine at the grocery store. Almost. But something stopped him. He decided to look through a few first, and there it was. A 1996 penny with a doubling error so clear, so sharp, so obvious once you knew what you were looking for. He sold that coin at auction for over $11,000. $11,000 from a coin-counting machine to a five-figure payday. That could be you. That could be me. That could be anyone who takes the time to actually look. Now here's what I need you to do. I need you to pause this video right now. Go get your pennies. Go get your coin jars. Go check your car. Go check your couch cushions. Find every penny from 1996 you can get your hands on. Look for the D mint mark right below the date. Then check for doubling on the date. On Liberty. On In God We Trust. Flip it over and check that AM in America. Check for off-center strikes. Check for any weirdness, anything that doesn't look normal. And if you find something, if you find anything that matches what I described, do not spend that penny. Do not put it in a coin machine. Protect it. Put it in a safe place. Get it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. Get it authenticated, because you might be sitting on a fortune and not even know it. But I have to be honest with you about something. Finding one of these coins is rare, very rare. That's why they're so valuable. That's why collectors are willing to pay insane amounts of money for them. But here's the beautiful thing. You don't have to find the rarest error to win. Even lesser errors on 1996 pennies can be worth $50, $100, $200, a small die chip in the right place, a minor lamination error on the surface, a slightly rotated die. All of these things add value. All of these things turn your pocket change into real money, and the only way to find them is to look. You know what breaks my heart? The thought of how many of these coins have been spent on candy bars. How many have been thrown into wishing fountains? How many have been lost in junk drawers and old piggy banks and eventually just thrown away? Every time one of these coins gets tossed, a little piece of history disappears, and someone somewhere loses a chance at a life-changing discovery. Don't let that be you. Don't let your 1996 penny slip through your fingers because you didn't know what to look for. I want you to think about something. In 1996, the world was very different. The internet was just becoming a thing. Cell phones were the size of bricks. Gas was cheap, and the Denver Mint was pumping out pennies by the billions. Never imagining that decades later, people like you and me would be searching through them with magnifying glasses, hoping to find that one special coin that changes everything. These pennies have been circulating for decades now. They've passed through thousands of hands. They've been in vending machines and cash registers and piggy banks all across America. And every single one of them carries the potential to be worth a fortune. Every single one. Let me give you some more details to look for. Check the rim of the coin. Is it wider on one side than the other? That's called a misaligned die that adds value. Check the surface of the coin. Do you see any raised lines or cracks? Those are die cracks and they're collectible. Check the letters on the reverse. Are any of them filled in or missing? That's a filled die error. Every single one of these little quirks adds dollars to the value, and those dollars add up fast. Now let's talk about how to properly handle a potentially valuable coin. If you think you've found something special, do not clean it. I repeat, do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not wipe it with anything. Cleaning a coin destroys its value. It strips away the original surface and collectors can tell immediately. A clean coin can lose 90% or more of its value instantly. So if you find something good, hold it by the edges, put it in a protective holder, and leave it alone until you can get it looked at by a professional. Let me also tell you about selling. If you do find a valuable 1996 penny, you have options. You can sell it on eBay. Error coins do incredibly well on eBay, especially if you have good clear photos. You can take it to a coin show and sell it to a dealer face to face. You can consign it to a major auction house if it's a really big error worth thousands, or you can hold on to it. Coins like this, they don't go down in value, they only go up. The longer you hold, the more it could be worth. It's an investment that started with 1 cent. I've been collecting coins for a long time now. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've seen people pass up valuable coins because they didn't know better, and I've seen people's faces light up when they realize that the penny they've been carrying around for years is worth more than their weekly paycheck. That feeling, that moment of discovery, that's what this is all about. That's why I make these videos, because I want everyone, and I mean everyone, to have a chance at that feeling. So here's your mission. After this video ends, I want you to check every 1996 penny you can find. Every single one. Check the date, check the mint mark, check for doubling, check the AM, check the strike, check everything. And if you find something amazing, I want you to come back to this video and leave a comment telling your story. Nothing makes me happier than hearing that one of my viewers struck gold, literal gold, or in this case, zinc and copper that's worth more than gold. Before I wrap this up, I need to address something important. Some of you might be skeptical. Some of you might think this is too good to be true. I understand that. I really do. But go look up recent auction results for 1996 era pennies. Go check the sold listings on eBay. Go visit a coin dealer and ask them about it. The evidence is everywhere. These coins are real. These prices are real. And the opportunity is real. All you have to do is take action. Think about all the times you've let opportunity pass you by. Think about all the could-haves and should-haves in your life. This doesn't have to be one of them. This can be the time you actually took action. This can be the time you actually found something. This can be the time everything changed. And it all starts with one little penny from 1996 with a little D below the date. I believe in you. I believe that someone watching this video right now has one of these coins. Maybe in their pocket, maybe in their nightstand, maybe in a box in the attic that they haven't opened in years. And I believe that when they find it, their life is going to change forever. Let that be you. Let today be the day. Now I'm going to ask you one last thing. If this video helped you, if this video taught you something new, if this video might help you find a fortune, smash that like button. Share this video with everyone you know. Every single person who has ever owned a penny needs to see this. Save it, bookmark it, come back to it, use it as your guide, and subscribe to this channel because I'm going to keep revealing these hidden treasures, these coins worth money, these secrets that the coin industry doesn't want you to know about. I'm going to keep fighting for the little guy. I'm going to keep making sure that regular people like you and me have the knowledge to find treasure in their pocket change. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying until the very end. You now know more about the 1996 Lincoln penny than 99.9% of the population. Use that knowledge. Go find your fortune. And I'll see you in the next video. Now go check your pennies.